In this video, we are going to talk about P1B2 of the Organizational Profile of Silver Quality Award. And this is the only who question in the entire Silver Quality Award application. And because there is only one who question, you can imagine it is a very, very, very important question. And in fact, if I were to, and again, I think I did this in the video about the 3 different questions, the who, what, and how questions, and I'll just draw it for you again really quick. If I were to have an organization, let's say that I just decided to make this organization here, and inside this organization I had, maybe up here is my parent company, and then my parent company goes to my admin. Actually, let me do it like this. My admin, and then my admin splits off. I have a DON on one side and an HR director on the other side, and then there's a bunch of different department heads under each one. That would form the roof of my organization. And what would fill the rest of my organization is just 3 things. It would be, who am I trying to serve? Who are my customers? And then what do they want? And how am I getting it for them? So that's the equation. Who plus what divided by how equals the results. And that's really what we're looking for. And the reason why I put it like this is because this who we're asking 3 times. You could ask 4 times. Peace and love, I would not do that. I would not do that. I would only ask 3 times. And so who? Resident. Who? Family member. Who? I don't know, ACO. Maybe it's your ACO hospital, or maybe it's a discharge planner, or maybe it's your employees. Maybe you can consider your employees a customer, a key customer of yours. All 3 are relevant. So you'd say first, residents, what do the residents want? How are we getting it for them? How do we know it's working? What's the result? Family members, what do family members want? How are we going to get it for them? And then what's the result? How do we know it's working? Staff, what do staff want? How are we going to make sure they get it? What is the result? How do we know whether or not we're doing a good job with our staff? That's basically the structure of the 3 questions, who, what, and how questions. And you can see, hopefully, by that little demonstration, you can see why it is so important to get the who question right. You have to, no bones about it, you have to put residents. Your number 1 customer is going to be residents. If you're filling this out from a senior care center or assisted living center, your key customer, most important, is a resident. That's just a given. The second most important is probably going to be either their family member or their assigned caregiver, somebody who is in support of that resident, their closest next of kin, or if somebody's assigned to them, whatever. So it's family member or responsible party is usually number 2. Number 3, so this is number 1, this is number 2. Number 3, you have to have 3, by the way. The minimum number on this is 3. You can have 4. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can have 4, but you definitely need 3. This 3rd person or 3rd group, I've seen it as employees, which makes complete sense, and I would argue is a pretty great answer. I've also seen it as discharge planners, which, by the way, used to be a lot more influential in my dealing with trying to get new admissions. We used to, we used to be able to build a relationship with our discharge planners and get to know them and have them get to know us. And so they would know all the intricacies of our home. And so they would be able to look at the needs of the patient leaving a hospital and be able to match it quite easily to the services we offer at our nursing home and make the judgment call whether or not we would be a good fit for that patient of theirs or not. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, we've seen a pretty dramatic shift where the hospital discharge planners are working more in a call center and they have no clinical background and they're handling multiple nursing homes. And so there's no more personalization, in my experience, with hospital discharge planners. We're losing the sense that a hospital discharge planner can help us in any way. Now it seems to be very robotic, you have an empty bed, your services are listed here. It's not based on relationships as much now as it was. It seems to be, to me anyway. And also, you could also put it like the ACO, the Accountable Care Organization, that might be your big feeder hospital. I've seen people say the medical community. I've seen people say the community itself, the whole community and nothing but the community. This often happens when it's a specialized service. Like there's a nursing home that I was working with that is a nunnery, only provides services to nuns. And so one of their key customers, they said, were all retired nuns. Probably not, right? Probably. It's very hard to have everybody as your customer, especially, all retired nuns. Or there's a veteran homes will often say the veteran community is one of their key customers. And I understand what they're saying. I understand what they mean. For the application, though, any type of community as a whole, regardless of what community it is, it's generally too general, too big of a audience to be a key customer. Because this is a most important customers. And their most important customers are probably the people you see every single day, which is why residents, family members, and employees make the best three, because you see them every single day, whether we want to or not, of course. The follow-up part 2 of this question is, what are your key stakeholders and customers, what are their requirements? What are they expecting? What do they want? What do they want? And we ask it about this. What do we want of your healthcare services? So let's take residents for an example. So if we're talking about residents, and we have to do this, we have to answer this question for all three of your key customer. So all three, that's the other thing too. You have to know what each of your customers want. You have to know what their requirements and expectations are, which again is super hard if you're going, the whole community. Well, what the heck does the whole community want? They all certainly don't want the same thing, right? Like, it's very hard to get a bead on that. So residents, what are their requirements of your healthcare services? Let's say that one of their key requirements is choice. They want to be able to choose the healthcare services that they get. Okay. What are their key requirements of your support services? Support services. That could be food service. That could be housekeeping. It could be activities, So let's say meaningful activities. I want to be entertained. What about your operations? Well, that could be, let's say our operations include safety. So we want to be safe. We want it to be clean, a clean environment, a safe environment. We want it to be a sound environment, right? That's kind of the way that you could answer that for residents. What are your residents' key requirements for the healthcare services, the support service, and operations, and include any differences among any groups? What this simply means is we're looking for best practices. We're looking for you to put it in a table like this. This is the best one to do. So this is like residents, families, Staff, is that's what you're going to go with, whoever you're going to go with. And then you're going to give us 3 to 5 bullet points, just bullet points of their key requirements, but you're going to answer for each. Key requirements of healthcare services are ... Key requirements of support services are ... Key requirements of operations are ... Again, 3 to 5. Doesn't have to be a long laundry list. We're just trying to get the most important out of you. We want to know what their most important requirements and expectations are. Residents have requirements and expectations. Families have requirements and expectations. Staff have requirements and expectations. We just need to know what they are. By the way, we already answered for staff. We already talked about what their, what we said was key drivers of engagement. Do you remember that? Earlier in the application, we asked about key drivers of engagement for staff. Those key drivers of engagement would fit perfectly here as well, because it is what they want. It is what their requirements are. They want good pay. They want the room for growth. They want educational opportunities, right? These are the things we know that they want. So you could just repeat yourself and put it here in this table as well.